Hey everyone, Ed here, back with another episode of the Inside GmG podcast show. Me just talking, I love it. But yeah, let's get straight to it, which is with what I'm playing. And not that much this week, to be honest, which I've been super busy with other things, but I have had time to try out the new season of Apex Legends, season 5, I think it is, and it's all centered around treasure. I think it's called Fortune, something like that. And basically, you play as quite interestingly, actually, one of the characters in the previous season, the child of these parents that were killed by one of the new legends in that season. You get to play as her in this one, all grown up. And what's really funny is after I finished filming last week's episode of Inside GmG, and I was talking about game mechanics and everything, I didn't see a character trailer and what to expect, of this upcoming season of Apex Legends. And what do I see? A character that can teleport. And what's really cool, it fits into what I was saying about how there's so many different ways that you can design certain mechanics. And the way that she teleports in this, kind of similar in Final Fantasy, but not really, is that she's got a bangle and she throws that, and then there's like a timer, so when you throw it, you're vulnerable for like a couple of seconds, and then you teleport, right? One thing also that I did notice actually is that teleportation in first person is super disorientating. Yeah, like maybe this is just because I'm bad, but I'd throw it and like try and get the drop on someone, and then when I TP there, I have just no idea where I am, and then I die, right? It happens, but I guess probably that's how teleportation would work. So yeah, been playing that. That's been great. The other game is GTA 5. I've just, for some reason, I just had an itch to play it, so I thought, let me just jump in. Hasn't changed that much, it's still awesome. One of the things I love about GTA is that they're best in class when it comes really to immersive open worlds, I feel. But yeah, jumped in online, and the first thing, someone in a flying motorcycle with rockets shot me down, and I was just like, oh great, okay, cool, welcome back, I guess. But yeah, that was fun. But yeah, that's all I've really been playing. But let's get straight onto the topic anyway. So the topic that I wanted to discuss today with you guys is one that we're gonna revisit over the years that we'll be doing this, right? Because it's something that is always ever changing, I think, but in a weird way needs to change, and that's next generation. And the recent thing that's just happened basically is that Epic have revealed Unreal 5, and they've shown a tech demo that's running on PS5 hardware, and it looks good. Don't get me wrong, it looks interesting, but I felt a little bit empty when I watched it, because tech demos are tech demos anyway. That's never going to become a game, and a game isn't gonna necessarily push every single one of those features, right? Yeah, that Epic was showing off, because it depends on the type of game that you're making. But that's the whole point of a tech demo, just to show what is possible. I get all of that, but the thing that I always find with every generation, because we're entering a new one, is that like what defines it? What's the thing that like gets me personally in the mood for the next generation of consoles, that gets me excited for that next generation of technology? And I'm getting old. This is not my first rodeo of experiencing console launches and new generations coming out and stuff, but for me, graphics is something that it almost doesn't really matter. Like, things can look nice, right? But you have to have a little bit more. And I always find it, and from Epic's point of view, that's their job, to show things looking nice, right? So what I'm asking for and what I want isn't necessarily in the same relation to what Epic view. Even when they make their own games, it's probably not something they're looking at. Maybe not. But for me, AI is a super important thing in games development, and it's something that I personally think isn't utilized enough in different ways. It's utilized heavily, right? Yeah, in ways that a lot of players don't even realize, because it's not as simple as just, difficulty, for example, in terms of AI and pathing. That's something that's a thing, right? And that would remain up to the designer how they want to do that, and it's quite simplistic in terms of what you want to get out of that type of AI. But the type of AI that I would like to see, or the type of technology and experiments, because this is all theorizing what they could do with current tech, by the way, not tech that's like way off into the future, but it's tech that we have in our mobile phones or something, is the idea of AI that learns, the learning type of AI, right? But the more adaptable nature of it. I mean, Halo had it back in the day with their enemies. They had like some of the best enemies in the business, like the way the elites would move, but more importantly, the way they would respond to what you're doing. Something that we don't really see that much in games nowadays, right? Like we just don't see it. Yeah, like even I was playing a bit of Sekiro, about 3 weeks ago, right? Just to jump in and try it. Got completely destroyed and was like, okay, right, I'm gonna have to put this game down and come when I have like complete concentration. But I was even thinking like the way enemies attack you and stuff in games, right? And I know this is done, with difficulty in the player's mind, and how enjoyable the experience needs to be, right? But I always feel that the enemies, you can always quote unquote game them, right? Yeah, and like it would be cool if you had enemies where it felt almost like playing someone online, right? And that's not necessarily that they're hard to beat, it's just that there's someone that's thinking naturally, right? Yeah, and they're improving it. I know Horizon, for example, Horizon Zero Dawn does something really cool with its enemies. I remember reading this, and I did notice this in the game, is that the enemies have like react completely differently to what you do to them. Yeah, so example, like if you're pulling off their armor and stuff, and when you pull off their armor, their attack patterns change, and they have loads of different attack patterns. That's a cool idea. That's something that I'd really like when developers are talking about next gen to go more in depth in terms of what that really means in terms of gameplay, because it's subtle, and yeah, it might not be something super exciting to talk about, because then we'll be entering the realm of like a Mark Cerny sort of presentation. But what is super important about doing something like that is it shows an evolution of what we've got, because to be honest with you, in terms of AI pathing, in terms of how enemies react, things have not changed since the PS3 era, really, up until now. And there was a big push as well, and this was funny, there's this big push with the generation before, of loads of enemies on screen. I remember the first demo that they showed of Cameo, right? And that looked, and I wasn't even, because obviously Cameo's got like quite a stylistic art style, yeah, so it wasn't like super photorealistic graphics. But what blew me away was the amount of people on screen. That completely went away. Like there weren't really that many. I think the only other game that really touted that was Heavenly Sword, right? And you could argue maybe the Dynasty Warrior games, but they've been around for a long time. But what was cool about Cameo and how they managed to get that across, I feel, is that they like all the enemies were quite individual, and Cameo wasn't a game that was particularly just about that. So you had some areas where you were just fighting a couple of dudes, right? And then you had massive sprawling battle scenes, and I always appreciated that. And I think that's something that went away. But if they were to bring that type of technology in games design, something that's it's not just about, hey, look how pretty this is, look how many particles that we have flying around and stuff like that, which once again, I know I love that, and I think games will always get to that point. We'll always have things that look nicer, but it'd be good to them to explore that idea of AI, because I think definitely in games, and I've spoken about this in podcasts before, games like Mass Effect would benefit heavily from that. You know, like just imagine having a character that you have no idea how they're gonna react, and not in terms of just it's written that they'll react differently, but even the designer kind of doesn't know how they would react, because it's purely dependent on how you treat that character, right? And I don't think that's like far away technology and super thing. I think people do it because essentially with a game you create a bubble and you need to control what's inside that bubble. If you don't, yeah, then it's just a complete mess, and with that complete mess can become a bad player experience, which no designer ever wants to, you know, get involved with. So I get that, but it's just, you know, like I said, I'm just throwing this stuff out here just so that you guys can understand that there's more to things than just things looking nice. And you know, and that's the only reason why when I watched this, I was like, good, but I've been here before. But that's just me. I've been doing this for a long time, so you know, you can get to a point where you're just like, okay, let me just see the game that's going to interest me, and that could be 2-3 years, who knows how long. And the ones that come before may not offer what you are personally looking at. That's not a mark on the games themselves, you know, like everyone has their own taste and whatever. But for me, yeah, I would like that focused really on more intricate styles of design that aren't necessarily completely flashy, but when it's not there, you notice it, you know. So, and that's a test of time. That makes something evergreen, I feel. So yeah, that was just my quick take on next gen. I'm super excited for it though, especially with all the technology in terms of SSD. That will be definitely an inherent difference to what we've experienced before. But yeah, that's going to do it for now, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. You know, wash those hands. You know, we're nearly there. At least here in the UK, we're nearly out of this, I think. So, you know, but wherever you are, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.